Oh, I got a good one. When I was really young there, I started going there when I was 10. Obviously, like the Onion story, if you're not familiar, my camp counselor, I think I was 14 or something at the time. My camp counselor, I said I love onions, and I bet my camp counselor that if I ate an entire white onion, that he would owe me whenever the candy store the candy store was open at the camp, I would be able to get one thing of whatever I wanted from him. And he agreed, and then he never paid anything. He didn't back up his side because he didn't think I would actually do it. It turns out the candy comes out of the paycheck for the counselors. So I guess he just wanted more money and thought I would not care about it, but I haven't forgotten. But anyway, a couple years prior, we obviously being a summer camp where parents will send their children for a month in the middle of the nowhere in Ontario, you needed like a medical facility. So we had like a small cabin that was a doctor's cabin. The doctor lived there, and we had a doctor and an assistant, and it was a safe place to be. Don't worry. One thing that was very interesting for the 10, 11, and 12-year-olds at that summer camp is for that time period, like early 2000s, we started a bartering system, like a small economy system of favors and various bribes, I guess you could say, with halls, like the mints, not the mint. They're like the cough drops, because kind of tastes good, I guess. So they became like a currency almost. Anytime anyone had an opportunity to go into the nearest town, they'd load up on halls, bring them back, and, it was like jail. They'd smuggle it in, and then it would become a currency. Then one time I went to the doctor's office because I sliced my thumb open. We had a lapidary hut. And if you don't know what lapidary is, it's like shaping and polishing rocks and, Shawshank Redemption style, making jewelry and all that stuff. So I was grinding a rock on a grinder, which is like a belt-driven electrical machine. And the rock slipped out of my hands, and my thumbs went into the grinder. Not like into the gears, but like onto the grinder. And it just ripped my thumb. I had a scar on my thumb for years from that happening, and it was gross. It was not fun. And so I went to the doctor, and it didn't need stitches, but it definitely needed a big bandage job. And yeah, it was a black market of cough drops. And I noticed when I was at the doctor's office getting fixed up for this mishap that they had boxes of halls, like the Magic the Gathering boxes of booster packs. It was like that, but filled with halls, and they were unopened. And I went, interesting. So we planned a heist. This was 2002. There were no security cameras anywhere of anyone doing anything. And we knew at one point, the day of the week that the doctor would be out, because they also had a sign that says the doctor is here and the doctor's not here. And it had a thing that said, if you need a doctor, here's where they are. And so we spotted an opportunity because the doctor said it was the farthest point away. We had this like long pathway that led out to like a point, I guess you could say, where we had a tiny little cabin and a bench that overlooked the lake. It was really nice. You could go out there and just hang out, whatever. It was really cool. And they were there. So I don't know what they were doing there, but that's where they went. I don't know what was happening. So I went back to my cabin that was pretty close, and I rallied the boys. It was a boys camp. I rallied the boys. I said, look, if we want to strike, now's the time. I know there's stuff in there that we could, like, let's just do it. So there were like 4 boxes of halls in there. We snagged one. We didn't clean them out because we thought, you know what, like, they'll notice if all of them are gone. That would be very stupid. And so we stole them. We bank heisted out of the doctor's cabin, or went back to our cabin, and got high on our own supply for sure. Like, definitely was irresponsible and stupid because you're 11. That's what you do with no parents around. Like, are you kidding me? And I mean, no one caught us. Never got caught. If the people who run the camp, God bless you. You guys are great. But if you are watching this and you recognize me from 2002 and going, oh, that's who did it, I don't think anyone ever found out or ever knew. I apologize. If need be, I will reimburse you for a crate of Hall's cough drops, but I think you guys are doing okay. But that's a good one. Summer camp is a place where there are just stories after stories after stories. Oh, before we move on, I got one more too. This one for a couple of years at this camp, it was lore. So I used to horseback ride there. We had the opportunity to have a whole stable and a bunch of horses. And I liked it. I liked doing horseback riding. It was an extra like add-on to take horseback riding lessons while you were there. And I really, really liked it. And so my parents were like, sure, You really like it? Let's do it. Let's do the horse riding. And so when I went to the stables, I used to love going to the stables, partially because there were volunteer girls working and helping with the stables and the and so you're 12, 13 years old and, you're at an all boys camp. Like that partly factors into it. But I genuinely did really enjoy horse riding. Like I really did. Periodically through the month, we used to have to take the horses out of the stable and take them to a huge field, like a farm basically, where they could have like a day or two to not be in a stable, right? Obviously you can't have horses just running roughshod all over a summer camp full of boys. So there was like a designated place, and it was like out of the camp, up the road, like a kilometer or two. And so kids could volunteer to help and ride the horses back to the farm, and where they would have their fun time. Being me, I was like, yeah, I'll do it once. Sure, I'll see how this goes. And like you had to be above a certain age limit because you were on a horse outside of the stable, and like there was all this other stuff. So I was like 13 maybe at this point. And I had a certain level of horseback riding achievement at the camp where I was allowed to do it. And so maybe by bad luck, they put me with a horse that was a bit of a struggle. This horse was a little temperamental and a little bit sort of tough to control. Not necessarily like crazy, but like not really listening to commands, kind of unpredictable. You just kind of had to be on your toes a little more around this horse. So I'm riding the horse in this convoy. We're leaving the camp, and a horse is a horse, right? They're kind of just animals. And we were walking by trotting, or not trotting, but going by an apple tree at the side of the road. And my horse was like, oh, apples, and just slowly started veering off the road towards this apple tree that was about 3 feet in the bush, maybe 4 feet into the bush. And there were like apples hanging over the road. So there were branches hanging over the road. And I'm trying to guide the horse back on the road. I'm like, come on, like, and then getting a little more forceful and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then the horse just keeps going. It doesn't stop. And I start going like, I go like, I can't control the horse at the moment. I'm going into the woods here and I don't know what to do. The people running the convoy were just like, just guide it back on the road. Just pull on the one side of the reins. You're fine, whatever. I was like, I don't think this horse is listening to me much. I think this horse knows it has a physical advantage over me. Next thing I know, there's an apple tree branch like under my arms and like pinning me back, and the horse just kept walking. So I'm falling more and more backwards, and I'm like, the last thing I want is to fall off a horse and have a horse just like out in the open in the woods. Not a good idea, right? Oh, sorry, camp people, I lost a horse. So anyway, luckily the horse did stop, but I spent because then they finally did notice that I was in a bit of peril, because also this tree was tall and I'm on the top of a horse. If I fall off, that's pretty far. So I'm holding onto this branch I'm basically flat this way. Like my legs are all the way out forwards, and I'm holding on to prevent myself from, and I was stuck there for maybe 10 minutes while they tried to like get the horse to behave or whatever. And it was just eating apples off a tree and whatever. It became lore for 2 years after that. People were still at the camp being like, what the hell were you doing? Like somehow it was my fault, and that's fine. Kind of maybe was, but whatever. So summer camp, really good opportunity for people to have crazy life experiences for sure. Good 7 months over 7 years of my life. It was an interesting time.